I'm Hillary Hendershot, your host, and this is Profit Boss Radio, episode 131. Profit Boss Radio is your weekly wealth mastermind. Profit Boss is also a community and a movement for women who are ready to take control of their money, break the glass ceiling, and give ourselves permission to finally have enough. Want the secrets of wealth to be yours? This is the place. I'm Hillary Hendershot. I'm a certified financial planner running a leading advisory firm for women, and I'm sharing with you real stories from real life and real women who are making it happen. Forget Wall Street. Let's do this, ladies. Happy January, Profit Boss. Today we are talking about questions you need to ask a financial advisor before hiring one. And after I finished kind of brainstorming about how I wanted this episode to go, it really is also kind of how to interview and select a financial advisor, okay? There's a guide if you want to go further with the questions at hillaryhendershot.com/131. I published an article about it and I'm including the resource there. So let's kind of get started. If you're thinking about hiring a financial advisor, how do you separate the wheat from the chaff? I'm going to be elaborating on the distinction between different types of financial advisors and how their business model and compensation, including also education, experience, and credentials matter in the field of financial planning. So why am I doing this now? Well, January is the perfect time to jumpstart or supercharge your finances. Lots of people reach out to financial advisors in January, in the first quarter of every year. And there hasn't been a better time to invest than right now for a while. We've had about a 10% market dip. So you're kind of getting your investments on sale. And if you've been on the fence about working with a financial advisor, maybe it's time to take the leap. I mean, sitting on that fence is really painful, right? Fence sitting just doesn't feel good, ladies, especially if you've got increasing complexity in your financial ecosystem. So if income is going up and your savings is going up and you're having questions about how to save for the kids' college and how do we know if we can cover retirement as well, and things just feel like it's time to delegate, maybe it is. But you hear a lot of people ask, how are they supposed to go about choosing a financial advisor in the first place? I mean, you could do an internet search, you could get a referral from a friend, you could go to a seminar. Where should you actually start? So I want to first acknowledge you that your skepticism and hesitancy are justified. Unfortunately, some jerks that came in my industry before me did not do the right thing. And we all know the name Bernie Madoff, unfortunately, but I want you to be reassured that there are lots of really good people out there. So I want to equip you with insider tips and knowledge so you can approach this decision with eyes wide open and be prepared for anything so that you can make the best possible decision for yourself, be prepared to pivot if you need to, and really make a savvy choice when it comes to with whom you entrust your wealth. You should know that the title financial advisor is not regulated. It's not. So when someone says they're a financial advisor, you can't be confident that they have any base level of education or training, nothing that's consistent. Okay. It's kind of a marketing term, unfortunately. In fact, the first people to call themselves financial advisors were truly brokers, stock jockeys, the Wolf of Wall Street guys, the guys who are churning accounts, kind of day traders, right? So they're not financial advisors at all. The term financial advisor implies I give you advice. Well, they were advising on buying and selling stocks, but that's not something that's going to be good for you in the long run. So let's talk about this for a second. What do financial advisors call themselves? You might have heard financial advisor, financial planner, and wealth manager. And that's kind of how they showed up on the scene in that chronological order. Basically, there's no difference, okay? Most people use the phrase financial advisor. Most consumers of financial services use the term financial advisor. Now, some people wanted to be known as a financial planner because they wanted to indicate to people that they helped them plan. So it was a way to differentiate. And then we wanted to up level. We want to be exclusive. You want to only work with the uber elite, and that was called a wealth manager. And I went through a whole phase in my career where I called myself a wealth manager, and Then I figured out that when people go to the Google monster and search for someone that they want to work with, they search for financial advisor. So I stopped calling myself a wealth manager and started calling myself a financial advisor. All three terms are unregulated, so there is no distinct difference between those three titles. No matter what they call themselves, it's probably the same thing, and you have to do your homework to figure out what services they're providing you. In my opinion, you should be looking for comprehensive financial advice, comprehensive wealth management. It's all the same thing. Some financial advisors are going to manage your money. Some financial advisors are not. I do think it's a bit better for you if you get someone who manages your money, who actually implements a portfolio allocation for you, because they can make sure that it's done right. They can rebalance for you when it gets out of whack. I do not have discretionary authority in my accounts. That's another thing you could ask. Do you have discretionary authority? Which means they could buy and sell without your permission. So I buy and sell in my client accounts to put the account back to its original portfolio allocation and to do distributions that I have direct, specific, stated orders from my clients to do. Okay, so introducing discretionary authority might introduce the possibility for fraud. I have no data on whether it's more likely or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if your financial advisor manages your accounts and they do not have discretionary authority, that's another layer of protection for you. So picking a financial advisor is probably one of the most important financial decisions you'll make, and you need to get it right, or you need to be able to make a new decision if something is off. So let's talk about how I would go about selecting a financial advisor if I wasn't one. Okay, so we're going to cover all the critical considerations of selecting a financial advisor to manage your life and savings. Well, let's get back to the question of how do you even start? I think that seminars, referrals, Google searches are all a good option. You can check the CFP board website for a list of local financial advisors if you're looking for someone local. I am a member of NAPFA, the National Association of Professional Financial Advisors, which is an association of fee-only fiduciary financial advisors. That's the only one that I know of that really combs through all of your business documents. As a financial advisor, I had to apply to be a part of NAPFA, and they make darn sure that you actually are a fee-only fiduciary. So if that's what you're interested in, go to napfa.org. All of these organizations will be linked to on the website, but you can start to build your list of possible advisors really anyway. Of course, ask your girlfriend, definitely ask friends who are financially savvy. So you don't want to ask your drama queen girlfriend how you should find a boyfriend or what to do about your issues with your husband. So definitely look to people who you look up to, who are at least on par with you in terms of their financial success and confidence, and possibly ask them for a referral. But I would say make a list. Maybe you're willing to interview 3, or you want to start with 5 so that you can get 3 good interviews. That's what I would do. And I kind of was thinking about this, and I really want you to go about the process of evaluating 4 things: whether you trust the person, whether you like the person, whether they're qualified and educated enough to serve you, and whether they have the business processes in place so that you can be confident that you'll get responsive service, that they're not going to make mistakes that cost you money, and that you have a likelihood of being able to do business for a long time, right? You don't want them to go out of business. You don't want them to quit. You don't want them to have breakdowns that cause you to not be able to be a client anymore. So I think those are the 4 things that you really want to evaluate. So let's start from the top. Do you trust them? Well, I think if you're a female listening to this show, I think broad strokes, this is a stereotyping kind of a statement, but we women, we tend to have a gut sense about people and things. And some of you need to meet someone in person, or at least do a screen share with them. Do a Zoom call so you can see them, see their facial expressions. Do they make eye contact? If you meet in person, do they have a firm handshake? But also trust is about, do they do what they said that they would do? If they say to you, I'll email you back on Friday, do they email you back on Friday, right? So it's these little things that don't necessarily necessarily have to do with questions. I tell my team, everyone on my team, I say, every interaction you have is an interview. Every single one. You are being evaluated. Do you put a period at the end of your sentence? Do you use proper grammar? Do you address the email, not formally, but appropriately? Do you spell their name correctly? What's in the subject line of the email? If you make a promise to my client, if you're on my team and you make a promise to a client, you had better do everything you possibly can. I want to see your knees bloodied, if they have to be, to fulfill on that promise. And then, and of course, we do have breakdowns. There are times when we make mistakes, or I have to say, hey, I said we would do that and we didn't do it. How do you now recoup from that mistake? So it's not likely you're going to get a financial advisor in a situation where they actually break a promise to you during the interview process. But if you do, how do they take responsibility for that mistake? Okay. Do they do and say the same thing at the same time? That's another thing I say to my team is we need to talk the talk and walk the walk. Another thing, in my opinion, that should go to trust is how do they do business? You can ask them, are you a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor? I talk about that phrase a lot, fee-only fiduciary. It's an ugly phrase. I apologize. It's not good marketing. We financial advisors are not great marketers. But what it means is that fee-only fiduciary financial advisors have taken the fiduciary oath. We are legally and ethically bound to treating you with the highest standards and protecting your best interests, even above our own. And yes, that means that many financial advisors are not bound to that standard. There are 271,900 personal financial advisors reported in the U.S., according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but only 3,000 of those are fee-only fiduciaries. So why does this go to trust? Because it means I don't have anything to sell you. I sell my services, but I don't sell any products. So if I tell you you need $1 million life insurance policy and $1 million umbrella policy, I make no money when I make that recommendation. It's just the right thing for you to do. I don't even take a kickback, not even a cup of coffee from the Allstate insurance agent that I might refer to. Let me contrast that with, I had a prospective client come to me once. He had something in his investment portfolio, in his bank account, that was sold to him by a financial advisor. And this bank financial advisor said to him, well, I'm going to sell you this product and it's a really high performing product. So you have to pay a little bit to get in. And there's also a back end loan. So there's a front end loan. You have to pay a premium to get in, and then you would have to pay a premium to get out. But it's so high performing in the middle that you won't want to. And he trusted this bank employee. My future client said, well, you work for a financial institution. This should be a house of high repute. And so, okay, you say, I'll take the high performing thing. I can be a buy and hold investor. And he came to my office and he told me this story. And I felt angry on his behalf, to be honest with you, because there are no products that reliably, especially over the short term, beat the market. First of all, there's no products that we know of that beat the market over the long term. Every year, some products are going to beat the market, but we don't know at the beginning of the year which they will be. So this bank employee basically said a bunch of nonsense, flat out lies to this person who, again, is very educated and should have earned the right in the world to work with people that are trustworthy. And so this person who calls himself a financial advisor was able to convince this person that he was doing right by him, doing a favor, selling him some premium product when in fact he was kicking him in the teeth on the way in and kicking him in the ass on the way out. And it just really takes me off. And that's the kind of nonsense you get when you work with someone who isn't a fiduciary. Also, under the umbrella of trust, let's talk about education. There's an alphabet soup of designations when it comes to the financial advice industry. The most widely recognized is probably the CFP, Certified Financial Planner. It consists of 5 courses that cover insurance, estate planning, retirement income generation, and retirement benefits. So qualified plans like 401ks and profit sharing plans. Cash flow management, income tax, and investments, and also wrapping it up with ethics. And then we take a big capstone course that kind of ties it all together, study our butts off, and then take 2 days or 10 hours of test and score 70% or higher. And then you also have to work with clients for 2 years before they let you use the designation. So that's the most widely known. Some that I think are misunderstood are the CPA, certified public accountant. Some folks who have the CPA, they're also very educated. Some of them do corporate audits, and some of them prepare personal tax returns. So not a designation that indicates they have comprehensive personal financial planning education. Also, the EA or enrolled agent, these folks are also qualified to prepare tax returns. Chartered life underwriter and chartered financial consultant, shortened CLU and CHFC. Those are life insurance designations. The chartered financial analyst or CFA. Wow, these guys are really smart. They're very analytical, very technical, definitely qualified to build an investment portfolio, like be a mutual fund manager, but there's no reason to think that they have any personal financial planning education. There are other more fringe designations like the CDFA, which is a divorce financial analyst. So if you have a very complicated divorce and you feel like you want to work with someone who specializes in divorce, you might choose a CDFA. I personally don't have any reason to believe that you can't have a successful divorce without one. You might just need an attorney, a financial advisor, and a good accountant. So that's just some of, like I said, the alphabet soup of education. You definitely want to know what is the level of educational background that your person has. So that's under the umbrella of trust, and also whether they're qualified and educated. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap amongst these. Let me just go back and reiterate. I have 4 buckets here. I think you want to trust them. You want to like them. You want to know that they're qualified and educated, and that they have the business plans and processes in place to serve you consistently. Financial advisors will always have a regulatory disclosure document. For RIAs like myself, RIA stands for Registered Investment Advisor. It is not a designation. It doesn't mean that I'm educated about anything. It means that I formed an entity called an RIA with the federal government. Okay. So someone who's an RIA doesn't mean that they're qualified to do anything. It just means that they have a particular kind of business. And I have to have a document called a Form ADV. To be totally honest with you, I don't even know what ADV stands for. I'm required to make that document available to any prospective client that I meet with. That document will disclose whether I have had any customer complaints, and it also discloses how I do business. So if I tell you I'm a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor, my ADV form should say that I'm a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor. You can also go to FINRA's website and use a link called Broker Check to see if your financial advisor or financial advisor to be has had any customer complaints. So I don't know if having had a customer complaint should be the nail in the coffin. I'm going to be real with you. I've never had a customer complaint, but I know that there are some crazy people out there. And I look on Yelp and I think there are businesses on Yelp that I think are 5 stars. And really, if I could give them 10 stars, I would. And they have complaints. They get 1-star reviews. And I think, well, that must have just been a crazy day, right? So I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the nature of the complaint, right? Does the customer complain that they tried to get something fixed, or they tried to get the advisor to be truthful with them, and the advisor never convinced them that they were telling the truth, that there was money stolen, or what's the nature of the complaint, right? I mean, I certainly think having had a complaint would raise my eyebrow, but I guess in the world of Yelp and anybody can file a complaint, I'm just not sure. But I do think you have to be absolutely pristine about, is the financial advisor telling you the truth about how they do business and how they get compensated? Let me interject a little here. I realize I didn't really cover the topic in completely. So I'm coming back to kind of bust in a little on my own podcast, and let's talk about how financial advisors get paid. So first of all, fee-only fiduciary is a phrase that refers to the nature of the relationship of the financial advisor to the client, as well as how the financial advisor gets paid. Fee only means our clients never pay commissions. So you never have to be concerned if I recommend this product or this investment to you. Well, is Hillary recommending that because it's good for me me, or is it because it's good for her? So the only way you can be confident that your financial advisor is a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor is to ask them how they get paid. If they call themselves fee-based, well, that means they earn commissions and charge a fee, okay? So you want their legal disclosure documents to refer to them as fee only. It's probably on their website. They might be a member of NAPFA. There should be emblems of trust. There should be reassurances that they are compensated the way that they say they are compensated. And why am I being so specific about this? Well, unfortunately, there's just a lot of dishonesty in my industry. So you need to look for emblems that reinforce your confidence that the person is telling the truth. So ask them, how do you get paid? If you work with a financial advisor who works for a bank, brokerage, or financial institution, any of the big brand names that you've heard of, unfortunately, they are not a fiduciary. President Obama did pass a fiduciary standard. I pretty much went on record saying that I thought the fiduciary standard or fiduciary rule should be voluntary, that professionals should have the onus of saying how they choose to do business. And then after Trump came into office, the fiduciary rule was killed or overturned. So it is not true that the fiduciary rule is in effect right now. It's not benefiting you. So you have to do your own research, consumer beware. And, kind of for the record, I think that's the best way. I really don't think the government should manhandle everything in life, but you just need to know enough to know about how your financial advisor gets paid. And what that means is they don't sell insurance. They don't sell estate plan documents. They probably don't sell tax returns. Most financial advisors don't also prepare taxes. Some of them do. And I don't think that makes them a not fiduciary. You just need to know that if you also get your tax return prepared there and they charge you additionally, that's probably a separate business. Anyway, I hope this helps and helps you understand why it really is important how your financial advisor gets paid. All right, let's talk about whether you like them. So, do you need to be your financial advisor's best friend? No, but you need to feel like they're kind of your buddy. You need to feel like you have open lines of communication, you have good rapport, you feel happy and confident when you're in their office. You don't want to feel talked down to. You don't want to feel patted on the back. These are some of the things I hear women saying most frequently. Someone might say, "Oh, Hillary, I've been to this Ameriprise financial advisor, and he's sort of this old white guy. And every time I go in his office, he pats me on the back and says, good job, little girl, just keep saving your money and it'll all work out. I don't understand what I could do differently, how to turn the dials. I don't know what I'm doing that's having the most leverage. I don't know how I could improve. I just am left sort of talked down to." So that's not a good sign. And it's probably not going to change. Okay. So you want to know that you like them. Now let's talk about whether they're qualified and educated. We talked about designations, and I do think it's important. I actually think it's critical that they have a designation. Oh, one designation I forgot to mention, the MSFS, the Master of Science in Financial Services. So the Master of Science in Financial Services is like the CFP, kind of plus some. So I never got my MSFS after going through what I needed to go through to get the CFP. I did not want to go back and start from ground zero. It's not actually ground zero, but I didn't want to go back and get the MSFS. I had been so long in the industry at that point that I really felt like my experience and my wisdom was sufficient. And I do think that the CFP is becoming kind of the gold standard of education, but there's also this degree called MSFS, and those folks do have comprehensive training about financial planning. So there's that one. Okay, so let's talk about how long have they been in practice? And this is, again, under the header of being qualified and educated. This is not, you don't want to hire a newbie. Okay. You want someone who's earned their stripes. You want someone who has been through the ringer with their own investment philosophy. The stock market can be a very, very risky place, and you want this person to have intimate knowledge of how their portfolios perform in up and down markets. My first year in the business was 1999. This was the year the NASDAQ lost more than half of its value. That's when tech stocks crashed. Remember Amazon, Pets.com, this kind of thing. And so it takes going through, just like it takes making mistakes in life to gain confidence about what you're doing that's right and to be clear that you're never going to do X, Y, or Z again. It takes going through bad markets. It takes having failures. I unfortunately, there was a period of time in my career where we were doing some kinds of investing that I'm no longer doing. And in some cases, I had clients lose money. So I sat in the office with clients and said, you made this investment and your money is gone. And I know in my heart and in my soul, down to the bottom of my feet, that I'm never going to do that again, ever. Right? I'm just not open to it. I'm not going to do business that way. And so even though it's bad that happened, it's in the past. It's way in the past. It's never going to happen again. So you definitely want someone who has earned their stripes. I don't know how many years in the industry you feel like that is. You might take a cue from your own career. You might talk with 5 or 6 financial advisors and, you might say to yourself, I definitely hear a difference when this person has more than 10 years of experience or 15 years of experience or something. Or you might decide that you want them to have a boundary, a border for yourself, and it should be more than 5 years. Okay. Under the umbrella of being qualified and educated, you might ask them what their business principles and values are. Ask them about how they run their business. Ask them about a time when they had a conflict with a client and how did they resolve it. Ask them about who their ideal client is. Ask them why they do what they do, right? Get into it with them. I like to ask people questions, not because the words that they say in response are so important, but to see how the person acts when they're in a conversation that they weren't necessarily prepared to be in, or when they're talking about themselves, or when their guard is down a little bit. I don't mean break them down or try to, I don't think anyone could make me cry in my office, but ask some non-traditional questions so that you can get a sense of who they are. Why is what they do important to them? If someone in my office asked me those questions, I would sing. Not literally. I would not sing. But it would be a lovely conversation. I would be very invigorated by those questions. And it would give you a sense of who they are. Okay, finally, under the header of do they have business processes in place they're going to allow them to serve you consistently, you want to know, what is their team like? Who's on their team? Who are their employees? Who else is going to serve you in a financial advisory capacity? I happen to have an associate advisor. Do they have someone who can step up and advise you if they're out? If something happens in their personal life, if they get injured? Do they have a business continuation plan? So what happens if they get hit by a bus? Kind of a morbid conversation, but I promise you a good financial advisor is going to talk with you about what happens if you get hit by a bus. Now, what financial planning software do they use? And you might not know how to evaluate the answers, right? I use Redtail and eMoney, but in the past I've used Money Guide Pro. And you may not know how to evaluate their answers. That's not really the point. You want to know that they have robust business processes. Ask them, for example, how do you manage making sure that you have appointments with all your clients every year? How many appointments are we going to have? How many times can I come into your office? How many times can I call you? How many times can I email you? Now, the answer for my clients is that's unlimited. I'm going to make sure you come in at least once a year, but you don't want to, you need to be able to be in open communication with your financial advisor. One of the things I say to my prospective clients is we return all client emails and phone calls by 5:00 that business day policy. Now, sometimes I miss it. I might leave the office at 4:00 and not look at my email again that day, or, something might happen. I might be home with my daughter, but 99.999% of the time, my clients experience me as very, very available. Okay. Another thing is, where do they meet you? I think that in this current business environment, more and more people are doing business casually. If your advisor doesn't have an external office and they meet with you from their living room, are you comfortable with that? Does that communicate enough business success and reliability for you? Is that something that you want to commit to, right? Some financial advisors have offices in WeWork spaces or other, temporary working spaces where they don't have a dedicated space. If so, how do they make sure that your information is kept confidential? How do they make sure any statements or any document, tax return with your social security number is not left on the desk? What if they print it to a shared printer? How do they make sure that no one else gets a hold of that? I'm not sure about shared printers. I've never done business in an environment like that. And to me, my printer is in my office, my scanner is in my office, and my shredder is in my office. And when I say my office, I mean a small room with just my desk in it. I have a large office and my executive assistant is out there. I've got a nice living room type environment where my clients can sit on the couch, but I have an office where I can shut the door. We can have a private conversation. I can look at your documents, scan them and shred them, and no one ever sees them. My opinion, that's minimum standard for what have to be a premier commitment to confidentiality, to preserving your financial privacy. One last thing is, how do they store documents? What's their security policy? So in my company, every one of my employees, anyone who has any access to client data, has to have a complex password on their mobile device, complex password on all of their computers, complex passwords for all pieces of software, so all web apps. So we're entering passwords, sometimes hundreds of times a day. But if I leave any of my devices, if I walked away from my iPhone right now, I have no qualms that no one could ever get into it because of the device level security that I have set up and that I have insisted be a part of my business. So ask questions about that. How do they store documents? What are their security policies? Like that. Okay, I hope this has been valuable for you. I hoped that it has helped you crystallize some of your thinking about what kind of relationship you think you would like to have. If you would like to go ahead and download the written guide to interviewing your financial advisor, just check it out at hillaryhendershot.com/131. If you've been listening to this because it's time for you to consider working with a financial advisor and you think that might be me, I would love to have a first chat with you. We can certainly talk and see if we think we might be a good fit to work together. My clients don't come to me because they're looking just for comprehensive financial management. My clients come to me because they want to reach their full financial potential and they want someone who's going to get them to the next level of their financial journey. My business exists so that my clients can experience freedom, and that's financial freedom, but it's also emotional freedom, freedom from anxiety, freedom to take care of their families, freedom to travel, freedom to know what it's going to take to earn what they need to earn, to save what they need to save, to retire when they want to retire. It really is all about living your best life. Many years ago, I was, and obviously still am, a female in the financial services industry who recognized that, hey, if I'm being treated like I don't even qualify to come to the table by other male financial advisors, I bet those male financial advisors are treating their female clients the same way. And that day, I transformed all of my insecurity and all of my thinking that I didn't qualify to be in this industry to thinking, oh my goodness, I am exactly what that woman is looking for, because I come to people and meet them where they are. I love what I do. It gets me out of bed. My conversations and relationships with my clients are invigorating, inspiring. They're motivating. They are my professional raison d'etre. Did I say it right? Okay. Thank you for letting me have a very bad French accent, but you are my reason for existing. If you think a partnership with me might be the thing you're looking for, I'm happy to have an initial chat with you. We'll just talk a little bit about where you are now, how you got there, where you'd like to go. And I'll be totally honest with you if I think I might be the right person to partner with to be your financial advisor. Just reach out, send us an email at hillary@hillaryhendershot.com. My first name has one L. and Hendershot has 2 T's. I look forward to hearing from you. There are also contact forms on my website. We would love to hear from you either way. And we promise to be very real and very straight with you about whether we think we might be the right organization for you. I appreciate you listening to this episode of Profit Boss Radio, and we'll see you next week.